Welcome back everyone, Loopy Shooter here reporting in. Today we're doing a comparison video, keyboard and mouse versus controller. I'll be breaking down this comparison in 3 different categories. The first one is going to be movement, how well I'll be able to move and traverse around the map, jump over obstacles, pick up items, look around. And the second category is going to be aiming, how well I'll be able to pick up the target, stay on target, and how well I'll track my targets. The last category is going to be difficulty. Which one has a more difficult learning curve? What advantages they have over each other? I'll be giving each rating a 1 out of 5. Enjoy the show. Okay, now we're going to start off with the controller. This is the most recent game I've played and everything is set to default. We're going to start off with talking about movement. Now, movement wasn't hard to pick up, but it did feel a little clunky at times. Like turning around right here felt a little slow, and if I turned up the sensitivity, then I wouldn't be able to aim as well. That'd be a lot of adjustment. And then climbing right here, the enemy just popped out of nowhere. So climbing, I'd have to press X, so that would mean I'd have to take off my aiming thumb off the right thumbstick. So if I'm climbing, then I won't be able to aim. I know it doesn't seem important, but those situations where you're just caught off guard and sometimes you have to aim and turn around like that. I know if I was using a keyboard, I'd probably be able to at least get 1 round off of them and turn around fast enough. Overall, I would give movement a solid 3 out of 5. The next category we're going to be talking about is aiming, and aiming on the console was fairly easy due to the fact that there's aim assist. It definitely aids in helping. Picking up targets was a lot easier, and correcting mistakes. Let's say if you aim to the right, you're able to correct that much easier when you're playing on the controller on console. I do have to admit, after warming up, it did feel easier to aim over time, especially when you're pre-aiming around corners. Now, controllers do have a disadvantage when they're playing against PC players, especially a seasoned PC player versus a console player. Now, yes, console players do have aim assist. I do have to say that a seasoned PC player will probably outgun a controller, hands down. Not to say that console players can't, they just are less likely to beat PC players. I would say most of the time. Maybe average player versus average player. Overall, I'm going to have to give aiming for the controller a solid 4 out of 5. The last category we're talking about is difficulty, and this one's going to be very short. So I'm going to give difficulty a 4.5 out of 5, and the reason why is because I usually play on keyboard and mouse anyway, and I've been playing for most of the time since the game came out. And I've only picked up, this is the first time I've picked up a controller in about 3 or 4 months, so it was fairly easy to pick up where I left off. Before we move on to keyboard and mouse, I just want to say that everything I'm saying is just an opinion, and you can take everything I say with a grain of salt. Next up is the keyboard and mouse. The first category we're going to talk about is movement. Now, I believe that the keyboard and mouse is definitely faster than the controller, especially with the combination of the look speed of the mouse. All the controls are on the left hand. For example, jumping, picking up items, melee, crouch, prone. I feel like it is more intuitive, but you do have to customize the key bindings. And also note that the controller, to do certain actions, you have to hold on certain buttons, versus on the keyboard you just press items like pick up or open doors. And so for that, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. definitely has an advantage over the controller, and it just doesn't feel as sluggish. Everything just feels 10 times faster. Now for the second category, aiming. Aiming on the keyboard and mouse is much faster. I mean, it can be lightning fast when if you put enough practice, you can, I mean, literally a flick of the wrist. If you know where your target is and you aim, I mean, just bam, right there. Staying on target is moderate with the right sensitivity. So you kind of have to play around a little bit, figure out the sensitivity in the options menu in your settings. And at times when I'm aiming and I miss, it is a lot more difficult to correct errors. And it is harder to track enemies when they're moving from left to right, more lateral. Sometimes you have to anticipate where your enemies are going. I'm going to give aiming for the keyboard and mouse a solid 4 out of 5. I just think it's a lot easier. It's definitely easier to pick up targets. I don't feel as sluggish. And you definitely have an advantage over console players, and you can also keep up with PC players at least. Our last category is difficulty, and I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5, and for good reason. It's a steeper learning curve to learn how to play on the keyboard and mouse. It's harder to master, and it's definitely not for beginners. While it is a lot more challenging, it's highly rewarding playing on the keyboard and mouse. But if you don't play enough, it's a perishable skill compared to the controller. Yeah, that was a good warm-up. I'm ready for Warzone. Alright. And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. What do you guys prefer? Keyboard and mouse or controller? Which one do you think is better? Let me know in the comments down below. And thanks for watching. Olympia Shooter, over and out.